I still remember it. I can't tell you exactly how old I was, but it was sometime around 1965. My dad put me in the back of a Cessna 150 and we took our first discovery flight together. I had no idea where that little airplane would take me, but by 14, I was flying in a Ronca Champ off my dad's grass strip. Shortly after my 16th birthday, I soloed. And later I went into the Air Force and became an air traffic controller. And here I am, almost 57 years later, still flying. A lot has changed in aviation since then, but the most important thing hasn't. You still have to fly the airplane. I tell my students all the time nothing fundamental about flying has changed since Orville and Wilbur Wright. The same stick and rudder skills they needed in 1903 are the same skills you need today. And no, I'm not against technology. I like my GPS, EFB, a good autopilot, you name it. And I'm glad we have all the tools we have today because they've made flying safer and easier as well. But there's one thing technology cannot do. It can't feel the airplane. Because when it really matters, what keeps you alive is your ability to understand what the airplane is doing and what it's about to do. If you look at the accident statistics, the loss of control in flight is a number one problem in general aviation, number one killer of pilots. And far too often it starts with a stall. So why does that still happen? Well, there are a lot of reasons, but I believe one of them is how flight training has changed. Now, you see, when I started flying 60 years ago, most of the flight instructors, many of them anyway, were World War II combat pilots. They had a lot of experience, combat experience, thousands of hours, very little rattled them. And now I'm not knocking young flight instructors. There are some excellent ones out there. I fly with them all the time, but experience does matter. Not just flight experience, but life experience. Back then, the cockpit was a simpler place. No iPad on the knees, no GPS telling you exactly where you are, no autopilot doing half the flying. The focus was simple: fly the airplane. That's one reason I believe so strongly in what we are doing at Confidence Flight Training. Now, there are other instructors around the country that are doing the same thing I'm doing here to bring back something that's been fading in modern training: true stick and rudder flying. And in some cases, we're not bringing it back, we are teaching it for the very first time. There's another piece of this that matters. If my research is correct, the last time the commercial pilots were required in the United States to perform spin training was 1947. I believe every pilot and above, private pilot and above, should experience properly conducted spin training with a qualified instructor because that first spin will get your attention. And that's the point. You need to know what it feels like. You need to recognize it before you get there. And because someday you may find yourself in a situation where the airplane starts to get away from you. And if you've been there before, if you've actually felt the stall in a spin, you may recognize it just a little bit sooner. And that's the point. Maybe you gain 2 or 3 seconds. And that's the difference between good and bad, life and death, frankly. Now, we have incredible technology today: EFBs, GPS, autopilot, you name it, weather and traffic systems. I use them all, and it's very useful. But technology is a tool for the pilot, not a replacement, because sooner or later, something will happen that will, well, it wasn't in the plan. And when it does, you may not have time to look down. You may not have time to let the autopilot save you or even think. You just have to fly the airplane. And in that moment, it doesn't matter if it's 1903 or 2026. The airplane still responds to the same fundamentals: stick, rudder, altitude, and airspeed, and the ability to feel the airplane. That's what Wilbur and Orville Wright understood. And after almost 57 years of flying, it's what I still believe every pilot needs to understand. Technology changes, airplanes change, cockpits change, but the airplane still has to be flown. And that, my friends, will never change.